All right, so Chris, man, good to talk to you again, and thanks for coming up on the YouTube video here. You've been touching on your book a little bit, and it's looking pretty great, man. So what's it called?
It's called The Hunters. It's a story I started writing back in 2002. I've been working on it for a while now. Uh, it really is the first thing I've ever really worked this hard on, and wanted it to get published this fast.
Well, that's pretty awesome. And I like the format you're going with it, especially making it. It's on Wattpad, and I'm guessing a few people have heard about that website. So, is it? I mean, is the website working out to what you hope to do with the book? You know, like layout wise.
Um, Honestly, what I'm wanting to do is I'm going to put the first draft of the book on Wattpad, but like the final draft with all the extra goodies, all the extra content, all the stuff that's not in the first draft is going to be like printed, and you'll be able to buy it at the store.
Nice, nice. Yeah. So I was about to ask. I mean, is this something you're looking at making free, or you hope to make some money off of it? Because obviously, if it does hit big, you could probably make a pretty good living off of it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I'm not looking to, be the next, you know, big author or anything. I just would hope to, make something that other people find entertaining.
I see. So you do it for the fun of it because you. It sounds like you like writing, and you like help spreading that love to other people.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Actually, one of the reasons why it's been taking me so long as of late is, I'm writing this book, and I've started writing two other stories, and I've actually got outlines for about five or six others.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Uh, the other books, are they tying into this one, or is it a totally different scenario?
Some of them do actually tie into this one. With with some of them, they're gonna be kind of branching off of this main book. Um, the big issue though that I'm having is I don't want to have this huge world and all these books that don't really tie in together, and people would have the problem discerning a timeline for them.
I got you. Yeah, that's kind of a major flaw in some universes, especially some fan fiction universes. People just throw everything in there, and they don't really tie them in very well.
Right. What I'm going to do is now there are two books that are going to tie into each other that I'm writing, but they're not part of this book. This book is mainly going to be about itself. There is one book that's going to tie into it, but it's going to be kind of like how everything gets set up to where everything happens in the book as I'm writing.
Nice, awesome. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's get to the actual book. So what's the whole plot here? It seems like you got assassinations. You've got some magic in there, from what I remember reading in a few of the chapters.
Yeah, there's it's based in medieval times, but it's basically before recorded history. It's lots of magic, lots of mythical creatures, and one of the big things about it is prophecy and magic. And when I started writing the book, Harry Potter had just came out, and I was about, let's see, I believe I was about 16 or 17 at the time, and I absolutely could not stand Harry Potter. Not that I don't like it now. Now I do like it, but at the time I hated Harry Potter, and I wanted something that I thought um, is what should have been a good story about magic.
Yeah, yeah, that's understandable. And from what I've touched on in the book so far, I mean, because I think you're working on chapter 31 right now. You've got 30 chapters up on Wattpad. Um, from what I've touched on, I mean, it's actually pretty solid. Like you said, though, it is a rough draft, so obviously there's some areas to where some stuff will need to be worked out. But the story seems pretty solid. The fact that it's medieval is what really attracted it to me. Obviously, being a nerd. Um, so, I mean, are you? Some authors tend to throw some nods in there to other books or other series. I mean, are you going to be doing that at all?
Um, and the thing is I wanted to write something completely original. I didn't want to feel like I was taking away from anyone else, or that I was borrowing ideas from someone else. Not that other people's ideas are good, because they are. There are plenty of people out there with much better ideas than myself. But to me, if I wrote something and I borrowed from someone else, it to me it wouldn't feel like I wrote it. It would feel like I was using someone else's idea and I came up with it.
No, that's respectable for sure. Um, but just for giggles, I mean, are you I mean, are you going to be like maybe throwing a little clue in here that kind of, says, oh, I was a fan of this series or I was a fan of that series. Maybe a reference to something of that sort, like some authors do.
Um, I believe I'm actually saving that kind of stuff for some of the other books I'm writing. Um,
Okay, cool.
Mostly this is well, as you've read, it's very fast paced. I don't like being around the bush. I don't like taking 10 chapters to get to the action, and I don't like I I enjoy a good book, but if I'm at chapter 8 or 9 and nothing really interesting has happened as far as the main story to kind of move it along, I'm already bored with it.
Right, right. Yeah, that's understandable because it can start going stale right about that point.
Right. I mean, you know, and there are many books that they start out that way, and you know people put them down and don't realize that later on they're missing out on a really good book, but they're like, I'll wait till the movie comes out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's personally, I've always preferred the book over the movie, especially a couple examples being Jurassic Park and Harry Potter, obviously, because Harry Potter, the books were a lot better than the movie. Um, and I think they did a good job in translating it into the movie, because obviously with the movie you only have so much time to work with. Uh, but so it was, again, I've always been one of those people that the book is always better than the movie, so that's really good to hear.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I don't want if something was to ever happen with this and it was made big, I would want to have creative control over the movie. That way, I don't want anything that I think is too important to be taken away, and nothing that's too insignificant to be thought that had to be put in.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, well, kind of going on to the characters here. There's actually seems to be a pretty epic fight between the character Marius and the character Lamora. Now, from what I'm reading, Marius actually seems kind of a badass, but Lamora can hold her own as well. What's going on there?
The fight you're talking about actually is it's like the dueling lovers, because Marius is the main character, but Lamora is the love interest in the story, and later on you see that as they continually meet and become closer, and Marius is eventually left with no choice but to have her accompany him. Um, at that point, though, he's fighting her because there's two main factions, in the world at this time. There's, just the good faction and the evil faction. And Marius had, for a long time, worked for the evil faction. And they're the ones that made him into a hunter. So he felt betrayed and he's rebelling against them. But Lamora who is a vampiress, she she doesn't like him to begin with because he worked for the evil side. But on top of that, in my story anyway, the reason why the vampires can't walk out in sunlight is because back when the hunters were really abundant and actually had a race and an empire of their own, um, the hunters actually cursed them when the vampires and hunters went to war. Um, the hunters put a curse on them, on the entire race, and basically, sunlight sets them on fire. And they were very vain. They had glass kingdoms, and basically the hunters just wiped them out in a day. And she wants vengeance for that.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool, pretty in depth actually. That's what I'm liking about the story so far is that you really do seem to dig deep into what the characters' backgrounds are instead of just slap some cliche this versus that history, and it's really cool so far.
I appreciate that, dude. I don't want any character to have just to be thrown in there. Even the supporting characters, which you may not have read this, but you will later on. Even the supporting characters, if they don't have their background explained, they might even get an entire chapter wrote just for them to explain what happens or what happened in their past, and it explains the decisions during the book.
That's really awesome too, and it really does tend to help the reader have a better understanding of what's going on. Like who is what character, what kind of background do they have, all this and that. What do they prefer to fight with, like in this case, which again there seems to be a lot of combat, feudal and not, and it's really awesome. And it seems to make for a lot of action, which I've really enjoyed so far. So yeah, I mean, it's been great. So I would definitely recommend it. Now Marius is the main character. How exactly did you start creating him? Like, did you model him after anybody, or did you have a general idea of who you wanted him to be?
Well, not considerably. I knew I wanted him to be a bad guy at first because it seems like in everything I've seen, there's that really cool guy who's a good guy now, but who used to be a bad guy before, and you don't know a whole lot about that, and you go through halfway your story, and then you find out all about his past, but it's halfway through, and it doesn't matter anymore because he's about to die, or the story's almost over. So basically that was explaining his background, and this is actually this actually explains what happens to him, so you understand what he's doing for the second two-thirds of this actual story, which the second two-thirds may actually be books 2 and 3. I haven't really come to a conclusion on whether I want to do one large book or 3 smaller ones.
I got you. It seems to work better whenever you do a trilogy because, again, it sounds like you're going really in depth with this and throwing a lot out there into this universe that you're delving into. And it really does seem to be that history-wise, especially nowadays, to want to break it up and have one book as one point, the second book is another point, and the third book is either a finale or just another point in the story. So I can see that being probably a very good way to do it. But then if you have one big book, obviously you have it all there. You don't have to worry about well, where do I cut this one off? Where do I cut the other one off?
Right, and that's actually where I'm at now. I honestly do need to make a decision before I continue writing on, because I have chapter 31 written, but I need to make a decision on what I want to do because they're at the point where um, he's got one or two things left to do, and then a really big event happens. And that's the point I either need to stop book one or decide, okay, I'm just going to write the whole thing.
Well, I can tell you. Sorry, y'all, excuse me. I have some software difficulties here. Uh, it really does seem like a really great book, man. And when it is finished, I think it's going to be obviously even better. And depending on how many chapters you put in here, it's going to be a really good read. Either way, and I'm looking forward to it. I really am. And I know some other people that'll get into it, especially if you're a total nerd. A lot of people will really get into it because it's deep fantasy. Um, you're putting some really good background into it, some really good character development, some really good feuds, and it seems really awesome. I did want to ask because, and I wanted to touch on this, the title page that you've done, what you have now with the symbol, it's what looks like a demon with the star in between the horns. Is that something you're going to stay with, or do you have a general idea of what you want the cover to look like?
That's actually something I drew for the cover. Actually, it's not a demon. It's what the hunter's face looks like when he's staring you down. He's got two large horns coming out of the back of his temples and two horns coming out of the back of his chin. So he has his head looks like a dragon. The star is a representation of the magic that's used to make a hunter. That's the only way they're made. They're not actually born, and they don't procreate.
Gotcha. Okay, so they just kind of come into being.
Well, they don't really come into being. This will be explained in the book that's going to pretty much go about what happened before, Marius and why he's there. But basically, the hunters were the guardians of Earth, and they pretty much kept all the other races in check and made sure nobody was too much of a bully and no one got too powerful. And what they would do is they would take heroes, just the mightiest and best heroes of those races, and then turn them into hunters through magical spells.
Oh, I got you. All right, yeah, cool concept. So basically, they're the balance and check of the realm that they're guarding, and choosing heroes among the people of that realm, and they're basically just imbuing them with stuff that might be needed for assignments they're given.
No, no. When a hero is picked out, they're usually human or dwarf or elf or something like that. What they do is they lie down on the altar, and there's a conjuration ritual, and the blood of a dragon and the blood of a gargoyle is used to be infused with them to make them a hunter, because a hunter is part mortal being, which is what they are originally, and then they're also half dragon, half gargoyle.
Oh, nice. Okay. So not only is it a power change for the hero, but it's also a physical change as well, is what it sounds like.
Yes, yes. They're about 7, 8 feet tall. They have horns and spikes, two large wings, scaly body, tail. They do walk upright. They don't walk on all fours like a dragon would. So they have a body similar to a gargoyle, but the legs and wings are similar to a dragon, as is the head and tail.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds pretty sweet. Especially if you can get that, because you mentioned earlier about trying to put this into an anime, and it seems like anime would really affect that style pretty nicely.
Yeah, it would. A lot of the action and the powers they use is very anime styled. especially with the fights, because that's how I was seeing it in my mind as I was writing it down.
It's a good exercise to envision that. I know a lot of writers, have their own way of looking at it. They're looking at it in their head. They try to envision what the world would look like, what the character would look like, and all that. And so it sounds like you got that anime base going on. So that again should reflect pretty well, especially if it does go to series. And I gotta say that's pretty exciting.
Well, if it takes off, you know, it would be great for me to get it out there. It's certainly not anything for kids to be watching though, with all the blood and the gore and people's head getting ripped off and guts going everywhere and children being slaughtered.
No, no, I would think not. Although some of the cartoons nowadays, there's hints of some slaughter that pop up every so often. So who knows? Maybe 10, 20 years from now, it'll be a different story. I know when we were kids, too much of something got a finger wag, and of course, they came up with the rating system and all this, and so times change. So you never know.
Yeah, that's very true. One of the things I've noticed, especially nowadays, is Adult Swim does most of the really good anime, and they save all the kiddie anime for Cartoon Network and Disney and all that. Um, One of the things I really enjoy about Adult Swim is the only thing they really censor out is nudity, cussing, and really graphic violence, like someone's arm being chopped off or something.
True, true. You gotta love Adult Swim, and actually, Cartoon Network just came up on its 20th anniversary. Pretty crazy. Well, tell you what, we're coming up on our time limit here. I tell you what, before we cut it off, is Marius your favorite character? Like, do you have a favorite character overall, or is it kind of a children concept where you love them all equally?
Um, Honestly, I have I have three favorite characters. Um, Two of which you don't really get to see a whole lot of, and that's Noric and Trovan. And you don't get to see a whole lot of them. But probably by far my most favorite would be Kaishin. Because he's so uptight about everything, and everyone's an asshole to him, but he takes it in stride.
Sounds cool. Well, is he a major part of the book? I mean, the main storyline. Like, does he influence Marius at all? Or are they friends or anything to that extent?
I'm gonna leave that as a surprise for the readers and you actually. I will say that he is a big influential part in the story, but you don't get to see him till later on. Probably around chapter 11 or 12, he should be in there.
All right, cool. All right, sounds good. All right, well, listen, again, I want to wish you luck on the rest of the book, and hopefully this can take off for you because it does have a lot of creativity behind it, a lot of depth, a lot of story, and especially the character development. For what I've seen so far, is just excellent. It's really excellent, and I think that you can put a lot into it, and it'll pay off for you, and that's my hope for it. So, you know, again, I just want to say good luck with it. Thanks for doing this again, by the way, very cool. And if anybody wants to find it, they can just go to wattpad.com and search for The Hunters, correct?
Yes, but if they do, it's going to take them a while to find it. If they'd rather, they can just go to my profile, wattpad.com, /users /chapel. CHAPEL.
Okay, cool. I'll be sure to throw that up on the video here. All right, well, thanks again, man. And I know you just got Myths of Pandaria, so I know you're gunning to get in there and start leveling and maybe even create a panda. I tell you what, before we go, how are you on the whole panda thing? Are you for or against it?
Oh, well, the thing is I wanted them to make a new race. Actually, I just wanted them to make a new class because the way I always thought of it was every odd expansion they added a new race, and every even expansion they added a new class. And with this, you know, and with them just adding a new race this last expansion, I expected them just to add a new class this one, but they didn't do that, and I was kind of thrown off by it. But the pandas are cool. I'm okay with the idea of the pandas. My biggest problem with the pandas is some of their racial abilities. I think they're way too overpowered. Um, they're pretty much their racials make them pretty much what you want for your for whatever class you're going, if they can be that.
True, true. And I gotta agree. I mean, I'm loving it. I mean, honestly, I really am. It's just, and even Amber has been agreeing that this has got to be one of the funnest expansions she's ever had, and she started back in vanilla. So it's great fun. It really is. Okay, well, let's go ahead and cut it off here. And again, thanks, man. Thanks for doing this. It was definitely good talking to
Thank
you
you,
again.
dude. Thank you, and thank anyone who listens and goes to my website. I really appreciate all the support I get.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. That's what we're here for. Us nerds got to look out for each other, right?
Exactly right.
All right. Well, hey, man, have a good night. Thanks again, and we'll probably do a recap video or a update video on this sometime later. Maybe get you back in here. We'll see how the book's going and how the response has been.
Awesome. I'm all for that.
All right, cool. All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody, or thanks for watching if you're watching us on YouTube, and check you later.